Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. This video will explain the grammar of academic writing. That here you will learn the grammar of formal style and the academic style. So there are some points to describe. The first is avoid contractions. The second is use the more appropriate formal negative forms. Third, limit the use of run-on expressions such as and so forth and etc. The fourth, avoid addressing the reader as you, except of course if you are writing a textbook. And then the next point is limit the use of direct questions, and the last one is place adverbs within the verb. So there are 6 points to explain here, and we will elaborate this one by one in the next slide. And we will elaborate this one by one in the next slide. The first one is avoid contraction. What is contraction? This is the example of contraction. For example, export figures won't improve until the economy is stronger. You can see here the word in red, won't. This is contracted from will not, and this is not appropriate to be used in academic writing. It will be better for you to write the complete version of the negative forms. So write it as it is. Export figures will not improve until the economy is stronger. Will not. So once again, this kind of shortening is not appropriate, just like when you write do not become don't, or does not become doesn't, and other example of contraction. And then the next one is appropriate formal negative forms. How to write negative forms in academic writing. Let's see the pairs. Not and any becomes no, and then not much, we can use little, and then it is better to use few rather than not and many. It will be clearly seen in the example. The analysis didn't yield any new results. So here is the normal negative forms in normal sentence, which is actually grammatical. There is better version of this, like this one. The analysis yielded no new results. The negation comes later after the verb. In a simple example, we can say, I have no money. So this is like that. Verb come first, and then after that, the negation by no. The next example is the government didn't allocate much funding for the program. The better form of this negative is by saying the government allocated little funding for the program. So here, didn't much is synonymous with little. Rather than saying didn't much, it will be better to say little. Or another example, I have little money. So in the simple example, we can say I didn't have, or I don't have much money. Then we say it in another form by saying I have little money. That's similar example to this form. The next example is this problem doesn't have many viable solutions. So another form of these negatives, which is better to write in academic writing, is this problem has few viable solutions. So here are the better negative forms to be used in academic writing, which is indicated by the fronting of verb before the negation, or verbs come first before the negation, which is different from common negative form, which is preceded by to be in negative forms and then followed by infinitive. Okay, the next point is limit run-on expressions. What is run-on expressions? We can see it in the example. These semiconductors can be used in robots, CD players, etc. So the run-on is the word in red. It seems similar to the previous point, but there are some other explanation for this. And then let's see, these semiconductors can be used in robots, CD players, and other electronic devices. So rather than saying this kind of shortening, it will be much better to explain this. What is etc. refers to, or what does it explain more. Then the second example gives you better version by explaining this etc. Because semiconductors is a kind of electronic devices, so it will be better to say and other electronic devices. Just like when we say I don't like this program because of this, and so on. Then we can say it, I don't like this program because of this, and other reasons. Other reasons indicate that what we have mentioned before is some reasons for not liking the program, and it makes it clear to the reader. Then this is the notes. Etc. is a contraction, so it is not appropriate to be used in academic writing. It will be better for you to say and so on and so forth, but the best one is by explaining them, as it is exemplified in the second sentence. Let's move to the next point. Number 4, this is avoid saying you. This is not actually you, but other personal pronoun like I and we, because it is related to the principle of academic writing, which is impersonal. Let's see the example. You can see the results in table 1. For example, when you are writing paper, then you can say, or you want to show table to the reader. Sometimes the writer write this sentence, you can see the result in table 1, but it is not allowed actually, or it is less appropriate in academic writing. We can change it into other forms of sentence. For example, the results can be seen in table 1. So here in the second example, we can see that there is no personal pronoun used here, but rather by changing the construction of the sentence into passive form. When we write in the passive forms, we can hide the subject, which is whether it is you or I, and this changing from active to passive sentence make it impersonal and suitable to be written in academic writing. And here the notes, look, the way point of view change into passive forms. That's why passive form is often used in academic writing, but it should be wisely applied. The next one is limit direct questions. For example, like this, what can be done to lower cost? So perhaps in the middle of our writing, we may want to ask the readers to discuss particular issue by triggering it through question. However, this is not the appropriate form. The examples below are the options to change this direct question form into other forms which is suitable for academic writing. For example, we now need to consider what can be done to lower cost. We now need to consider how cost may be lowered. But there's still a problem with these two sentences. Can you identify this? Yes, the use of personal pronoun we. Although the sentence construction has been changed from question or interrogative into declarative, but still we see something which is not really appropriate or common to be used in academic writing. This is the use of personal pronoun we. Then the last option might be the best one. It is important now to consider how cost can be lowered. Here, another construction of grammar is utilized. This is the introductory it. So you can employ this grammatical construction to make your writing more academic or following the academic style. The last one is by placing adverbs within the verb. Let's see the example. Then the solution can be discarded. Is it wrong to write then or adverb in the initial position of the sentence? Of course not, because adverbs are relatively mobile in a sentence. It can be placed in the beginning, in the middle, or the final position of the sentence, but there is one form that makes it more of academic style. Like this, the solution can then be discarded. So then is placed in between verbal phrase or directly after the first element of verb phrase. The solution can then be discarded. And then the next example, the blood is withdrawn slowly. How to change it into more academic style? Yes, move slowly in between is in withdrawn becomes the blood is slowly withdrawn. So it is simply by moving the adverbs within the verb which goes directly after the first element of the verb. So this is the end of the first part of the grammar of academic writing. We will see you again in the second part, which will elaborate more the grammar of academic writing. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.